Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 3919BN. Today's date is June 3rd, 2026, and the title of the episode is Another Move Was Made to Counter the Deep State. Trump is showing the world he's in control. Now, everyone is excited about AI, a smarter future, a faster future, everything connected, everything in the cloud. But what happens when it breaks? What happens when the system that holds your money gets hacked? When an AI trained on every password, every pattern, every weakness turns its attention to your bank account? How much of your wealth exists only as a number on a screen? What happens when you wake up and you're locked out of your own life? No cash, no card, no access. Just a message on a screen telling you to wait. This is why smart Americans are turning to Noble Gold Investments to own something real. Physical gold, a coin you can hold, a bar you can stack, an asset that doesn't live on a server, can't be frozen by a keystroke, and can't be erased by code. Visit X22 Gold and learn how easy it is to own physical gold and silver, shipped to your door or held in a tax-advantaged retirement account. That is X22Gold.com. And here's a little something extra. Just mention X22 Report when you reach out to Noble Gold, and they'll send you a 1/10 ounce gold coin as a thank you when you open a new qualified account. Remember, that is X22Gold.com, or just click the link in the description. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech fake news, the puppet masters, they're seeing their entire world that they created fall apart around them. And we were told a long time ago how stupid these people are. And what's very interesting is Trump, when he was in his first term, realized the deep state players installed the dumbest people they could find. Because again, you can't have smart people in there. You have to find people that are criminals. You have to find people that don't have any morals. And you have to have a lot of the dumb people in there so they don't question anything. And they brought these people in, and they've been in government for a very long time. And they've been pushing their entire agenda. Here comes Trump. Now, in his first term, again, there were a lot of people that were given to him, or the Republican Party said, these are the people that you have to use. So did he have the best of the best? No, he did not. During his third term, and yes, his third term, because the second term he was commander-in-chief, he was controlling the country while he was waking the country up by having Biden/Obama in the White House. In his third term, he decided to get a group of talented people, a group of people that are smart, the group of people that know their business, a group of people that can actually go against the dumb people. And when you listen to the hearings and you listen to the morons in Congress question these talented people, these smart people, you can always see every single time they're always able to basically hit them back with what they said, and they're able to use facts against these people. And most of these individuals, they're not really asking questions. They just want to grandstand. They just want to get their soundbite out there. They really don't want to hear the answer because, again, if they hear the answer, it's going to basically shoot down everything that they're trying to say. And we see it with Marco Rubio. We see it with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. We see it with Kash Patel. We see it with Mark Wayne Mullen. We see it with all these people. So Trump has the best of the best smart people dealing with idiots. And that's what the American people now are seeing. And remember, the idiots, all they could use is emotion. They use lies. They make up stories. And again, when confronted with the lie, they run out of the room. Or they say, I'm not listening, or they say, you're not allowed to speak. And we see this time and time again with these people. And this is how Trump right now is battling the deep state players. If you notice, this time around, it is very, very different. You could see, especially with the press secretary, you could see it with the people that he has on board. They're able to battle the fake news. They're able to battle the deep state players. They're able to battle all these gotcha questions. And they're able to basically beat these people down with their lies, which is very, very interesting, which means Trump has so much more control than the first time around. Because you have to remember, the Republican Party, the deep state players, who did they give him? Most of the people were idiots. Most of the people were on the side of the criminal syndicate. This time, it's very, very different. And you could see every step of the way, Trump is putting all the pieces together to do what? To go after the deep state players. He was doing an interview with Miranda Devine, and she asked him about the elections, and he said that, people have to pay for the rigging of the election. Somebody has to do it. Now, again, he's not going to come out and say, we're going to arrest all these people right now. I know who they are. They've been collecting evidence for a very long time. They collected incredible evidence, but again, without the people behind him, without the people seeing what they have done and producing this evidence to the people, no one would believe it. And again, you have to take that next step. Yes, can he see all the classified information? Can he see all the reports? Absolutely. But can the people see that information? This is where the problem, I do believe, is coming in. You see, you have to remember, he has the ability, because he's the president, to see the information. The everyday person in America, they don't see that information. And he can't just say, hey, by the way, look at the old information I collected. I mean, I know it's classified, but here you go. So how does he have to do it? How does he have to show the people the crimes that they committed? How does he have to show the people how they rigged the election? You have to follow the rule of law. You have to have an investigation. You have to indict. You have to show everyone what they have done. And you could see this is happening with the SPLC. You could see it's happening with Fulton County, Maricopa County. You could see that this is happening with Antifa. They're investigating that. You could see that it's happening with the money fraud, because it has to be shown to the people using the rule of law how they did it. And this part takes time. It doesn't happen overnight, because without the proof, without the documented evidence, no one is going to believe it. Yes, Trump knows this. This is why in the very beginning he said, I caught them all. I caught them in the Russia scandal. I caught them in the impeachment scandal. I caught them in the assassination attempts. I caught them in the indictments. I caught them in rigging the election. I caught them in COVID. I caught them with the mail-in ballots. I caught them with the machines. He caught them in everything that they had done. He knows the information. The problem is the American people must be shown. And you just can't dump it on the American people's laps, because, again, it's just too much information. So what you have to do over time is slowly but surely show the people how, again, I'm going to say this, how the system is run, how they created the system, how they created the cheating system, how they're able to rig the elections, what methods they used. Same thing with the fraud. How do they transfer the money? How does it get to the Somalis? How does it get to those people in California, hospice, Medicaid, and the rest? How is the money taken from the Federal Reserve, moved through the system, through various NGOs? How does it reach these people? Now, the only way you can do it is to show the people receiving it, so that people understand, look, empty buildings, they're receiving the money, millions of dollars. There's really no child daycare. Look, there's no hospice here. And then say, well, how did they get the money? Where did it come from? And let's backtrack to figure that out. And this is what Bessent is doing. This is what Trump's team is doing right now. Slowly but surely, people are going to say, hey, you remember those daycare centers? Remember the hospice? Well, this is where the money came from. It came from this NGO. Where did they get it from? Oh, it came from this NGO. And then when people start to see this, people see the truth. Just like what Trump is doing with DC right now. He's cleaning it all up. He's doing this on purpose because he knows what's coming. He needs the people to see that we have law and order. Things look beautiful. You feel good when you go in there. There's no crime. Now, he's making another move to counter the deep state players. He's now starting up a fund for any city that has over 100,000 people where they're going to come up and clean up the crime. Now, think about it. In those cities that he cleans up the crime and the deep state players tries to have riots, what do you think the people are going to do? Well, look, our city was cleaned up. We have hardly any crime, and these people are entering our city, our towns. Well, we're not going to stand for it. Every step of the way, what Trump is doing right now, he's putting each piece into place to shut down what the deep state players are planning to do. And I do believe that includes a cyber attack because, once again, he just signed an executive order that has to do with cyber attacks. And he's showing everyone in regards to Iran that he is in complete and utter control. We have many, many messages coming out of the Department of War and many other places showing everyone and telling everyone, trust the plan. Patriots are in control because, again, they're reinforcing that. Trump is showing the world he is in control. Netanyahu is not in control. Trump controls Israel. Yes, we have two different sovereign nations, but this is Trump's mission. Netanyahu never put him up to going into Iran. Trump has said this over, a long time ago, over and over and over. And Trump now just showed everyone by telling Netanyahu to stop it that he is in control of this entire mission. And what did Netanyahu do? He abided by what Trump is saying. Now, again, doesn't mean Hezbollah, just because he spoke to Hezbollah. Hezbollah is going to agree because, again, that's a terrorist organization. And yes, they're going to have certain individuals within the terrorist organization that do not want to abide by this. But every step of the way, you can see that Trump now is in control of the situation. And he's waiting for Iran to surrender. And again, we've seen this in the past. Trump doesn't go directly at the enemy and destroy them. He wants it to be done the easiest way possible. And this is what he's doing with Iran right now. Please do the right thing. He does it with the deep state. Please do the right thing. When they eventually do not do the right thing, then he has to take it to the next level. And he actually said that. He said, I would love Iran to go ahead, surrender, make the deal. I would like to do it the humanitarian way. But if they don't want to do it, we can basically wipe out the rest of them. No troops on the ground, no boots on the ground, nothing like that whatsoever. We can actually destroy them in a split second. What do you think Trump has been doing this entire time? They've been tracking their weapons, tracking the movement of the people. They know exactly where all these people are. They can take them out in a second. And I wouldn't be surprised if Trump and team has been working with Israel where they have other methods of actually removing these individuals. So these individuals, they know this. And they're just waiting for them to do the right thing. Now, again, there's a lot of pressure on them from who? The deep state players. And this is why they keep pushing back. This is why they're continually attacking, because their deep state players are telling them, do not give up. Keep pushing forward. And once again, you could see in the end, it's not going to work because no matter which way they go, Trump is always in control of the situation. It's either they do it the easy way or they do it the hard way. Same thing with the deep state players. When it comes time to have justice, Trump is going to let them do the right thing. Do the right thing and make it a lot easier. Either you do it the way we want, where we arrest you and you surrender and we go to trial, or we do it the hard way, we hunt you down and we arrest you. Or maybe they could take the easy way out and save the taxpayers a lot of money. So yes, he's always going to give the deep state players the choice. And it's going to be their choice. And it depends on what his next move is. So you could see throughout the world, this is what Trump does. He says, okay, you have a choice now. You can do it this way or you can do it that way. You decide. Which means Trump is always in control. And again, when you look at certain people and you see their actions and you see that, hey, maybe they're a little bit nicer. Hey, maybe they're giving people a chance. That is not a sign of weakness. That is a sign of a level-headed thinking person who's allowing the enemy to do the right thing if they so choose. And you give that choice to them to make. And they're the ones who decide their fate. Just like if someone decided to break into your home, they've already made the decision there might be a gun on the other side of the home. Of course, it depends on the state. Let's use Florida, for example. They know it's a constitutional carry state. It's a constitutional Second Amendment state. So they know once they break into someone's home, they've made a decision that there might be a gun on the other side and my life might be ended in a split second. That's the decision they made. The same thing with the deep state. Same thing with Iran. Same thing with Maduro. Same thing with Cuba. Same thing with the cartel and everything like that. Now, of course, the criminals are going to do what? They're going to fight back with everything they have. They will fight to the very, very end because they're criminals. They know they're criminals. This is why when the police chase a criminal who maybe just murdered someone or robbed someone and they crash, they normally don't get out of their car and raise their hand and say, I give. What they do is especially if they have a weapon, They fight back. They fire shots. Now, they made a decision. Their decision is, I know I'm going to die. I know the police are going to take me down. And they start running and maybe shooting behind them. So again, Trump, he always gives the deep state players a chance. It doesn't mean he's not in control. It means that he's giving them a choice. And whatever choice they make, that is the direction Trump is going to go in. He'll either do it the easy way or he'll do it the hard way. It makes no difference at this point. So once again, we can see with everything that's going on, Trump is putting all the pieces together, and he has to show the people what he already knows, while he's removing the deep state players across the globe. We'll be talking a lot more about this a little bit later. But first, let's talk about 60 Minutes, because once again, we could see that these fake news organizations, they're in trouble. First of all, their ratings are dropping like a rock. Trump has sued many of these different news agencies. They've lost. And now you can see that a lot of these news agencies, they're trying to restructure their news agencies. It doesn't mean they're putting good people in there. They're actually going to investigate and report actual news, because most of the people that were in news right now, they're all activists. They're part of the deep state system. They're part of the criminal syndicate, and they basically do the bidding of the deep state players. So what's very interesting is that CBS News, it has now terminated Scott Pelley's contract. And you have to remember, his most infamous moments came when he attacked President Trump for defunding Peter Daszak's claim Trump was standing in the way of a cure for COVID, when in truth, Daszak helped create it in the first place. It was a total inversion of reality. Good riddance. What else did he do? Well, if you go back a little bit in time, Scott used 60 Minutes to run cover for Andy McCabe lying to the FBI during his anti-Trump witch hunt. He always been a progressive activist masquerading as a professional journalist. And most of these people are. Most of these people are fake. They play a role. And again, if you look at the news, a lot of these individuals are FBI, CIA, and I'm talking about 1.0, and they put these people into place to push a certain agenda. And the news organizations were being fed certain information via the intelligence agencies. Now, a lot of this has been shut down, and this is why they make a lot of the stories up right now, because again, they're not being fed information. And this is why they make up fake stories. This is why they become very emotional. This is why they keep pushing the agenda, because this is all they have. Remember, a lie can go around the world while the truth is putting on its shoes. So if they push out a lie, they know it's going to take a little while to debunk it. If you go back a little bit in time to the British Empire, you weren't innocent until proven guilty. You were guilty and you had to prove your innocence. So let's say, I'll use an example. They arrest you for being a drunk. Prove that you're not a drunk. You see, doing it this way is very, very difficult, because how do you prove you're not a drunk? It's very, very difficult to do. And this is why our founding fathers said, whoa, wait a minute. This is kind of backwards. They have to prove the guilt. They have to prove that you're drinking. You're drinking on the job. You're drinking all over the place. You have to prove that this person is guilty. You have to prove that they murdered someone. Where's the weapon? Where's the body? What's their motive? Where is the evidence that you were on the scene? Because once again, if it was the other way around, how do you prove you weren't there? Yes, you can show people that you were in this location, but once again, it's much more difficult to do. And this is what they do with the lies. They know the lie is going to travel fast. They know it takes a while to say, I didn't do this. It's almost like when they were asking Marco Rubio that he was at parties. Well, again, you have to now sit there and prove that you weren't at a party. It's absolutely unbelievable. And this is what they've been doing since Trump came into office. I mean, they've been lying for a much longer period of time, but they've been pushing these lies against him, against we the people, over and over and over. Just like with the illegals. They keep telling everyone, oh, these people have not committed any crime. You know, all the people in the detention center. The crime is they came to this country illegally. They broke the law. That is the crime. Now, of course, they don't want to mention that. So they say they didn't break any law. They didn't rob anyone. They didn't kill anyone. But again, they leave out the most important part. They came to this country illegally. That's why they're there. And this has to be repeated over and over and over and over. And think about what Trump just did right now. He's basically tracking down the money from the illegal immigrants and foreign fraudsters. He put this out on Truth. He said, illegal immigrants and foreign fraudsters steal billions every year from the American taxpayer. As part of my administration's historic effort to end fraud and reverse mass illegal immigration, I recently signed a powerful new executive order, which will be led by the Treasury Department to stop banks, credit cards, and financial institutions from being used to facilitate human smuggling, drug trafficking, illegal immigration, and the criminal cartels who orchestrate these activities. Access to our nation's financial systems must be limited to those who have a legal right to be here and who are engaged in lawful and legitimate commerce. Bank accounts being used to enable illegal immigration or to store the welfare received by illegal aliens will be shut down, and funds will ultimately face impoundment and seizure so they can be returned to the taxpayer. It is not ludicrous, but profoundly dangerous that any illegal alien can simply present a blue state driver's license or Biden border document and have unrestricted access to the U.S. financial system. This also sends a clear message to the anti-ICE rioters that your violent disruptions are only strengthening our resolve. My executive order will also allow us to stop billions in leaving our country in all manner of criminal activity. It has been said this measure we are taking is the most effective means of reversing Biden's border invasion. We shall soon find out, President DJT. And yeah, if people can't get the money, if people can't have the banks hold the money, if you're not getting the welfare and keeping it in the banks, it's going to be very, very difficult. Now think about it. The question is, why aren't the banks checking? Why aren't the banks looking at this saying, wait, are we supporting human smuggling? Are we supporting trafficking of drugs? Are we supporting Epstein? Oh, that's right, because they're all part of the system. And they really don't check on that. Think about it. We had banks keep the bank account open for Epstein, but they decided to shut the bank accounts of the president of the United States. Think about that for a second. That should tell you everything you need to know. And this is why when the deep state, the central bankers and other bankers come out saying, oh, criminals only use cryptocurrency. No, the criminals have been using the banking system. Oh, wait, the criminals are the banking system. They've been using the banking system for a very long time to launder their money. Go back in time and just do a very simple search. You'll see case after case after case after the banking institutions where they assisted in the money laundering of criminals. So they're the ones who've been laundering money for a very, very long time, assisting criminals to do this. And think about it. Every step of the way, Trump and team, the FBI, DOJ, CIA, you name it, DHS, they've been shutting down their entire network. And this has to do with money laundering. This has to do with illegal trafficking. This has to do with human trafficking. This has to do with the pedo networks. You name it, it's all being shut down. The FBI put this out and say, today's story behind the numbers. This FBI and our partners secured 2 life sentences for child predators in the same week. James Grover, head of Special Needs Advocacy Program, SNAP, was the group director of autism of the Seas. He preyed on the most vulnerable minors, most of whom were on the autism spectrum, often utilizing cruise ships as his place of victimization due to the fact that the ships were in international waters. FBI Tampa investigated, sought victim information, and found his criminal conduct went as far back as 2010. In February 2026, Grover was found guilty by a jury of enticement of a minor, and on May 28, 2026, was sentenced to life in prison. Subject Monterey Roseberry's arrest was the result of a successful joint collaboration with the Orlando Police Department, who responded to a cyber tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. While impersonating female, Roseberry identified and sextorted over 50 victims across the United States. If the victims refused to create sexually abusive material, he threatened to send previously created images to their families and friends. In some cases, Roseberry threatened the child's victims with death. In February 2026, Roseberry was convicted by a jury for production of child pornography, enticement of a minor, and possession of child pornography. On May 28, 2026, Roseberry was sentenced to life in prison. This FBI is cracking down on child predators more aggressively than any other in history, arresting 2,900 alleged abusers, up 70%, and identifying or locating nearly 7,000 children, up 144% since last year. We have dedicated teams across the country vigorously pursuing criminals like these and rescuing victims every single day, saving lives, reuniting families, and putting animals who abuse children behind bars. Thanks to outstanding work by the FBI Tampa and our partners, these 2 life sentences is the same week we reflect that we're not slowing down. And anyone who targets kids will feel the full weight of American justice. And think about it. This is what we voted Trump to do. His team was to go after all of these people, save the children. And already 7,000 children have been identified and located. We are saving the children in this country from these pedo networks. Isn't this what we wanted? I mean, did everyone believe or think that all of a sudden you were just going to see troops going around and just rounding up everyone? No, these are investigations. It takes time to find out where they are. And you can see that Kash Patel is driven to get this done. This is exactly what everyone wanted. Save the children. Well, that's exactly what's happening right now. And it's going to continue to happen. Now, the other thing that we could see is that the deep state players made a very big deal over George Floyd, a criminal who beat his wife and was on drugs. And basically, they went all out promoting this criminal. And you have to think about this and think about the way the system is. If the system, those people like Nancy Pelosi and the rest are criminals, remember they steal money, they take kickbacks, they do all these different things. The criminals are going to award or actually promote other criminals. This is why they had to choose a criminal to promote. And this is why they kneeled to their criminals. Because again, they installed these people into government. These are not representatives. We didn't vote for these people. They were put into these positions via a rigged system, not just in D.C., but around the country. And we could see it as clear as day. Now, think about what happened to Henry out in the UK. Was he a criminal? No, he was not. So are they going to basically kneel down to him? Are they going to have protests? No, they're not. Who's going to have the protests? The actual people will. Because again, the deep state players wants nothing to do with this person in the UK. And especially the person that actually killed him, a Muslim. So this goes against everything that they want. And thousands of people are reciting Henry's last words. I can't breathe. Where's the media? You're never going to see them. You know why? They're part of the criminal syndicate. That is why. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that we know that Trump, he's removing the deep state system that has been established going back in time. You could see it was Venezuela. You could see a lot of the countries, they are now electing other leaders in their countries. And you can see that he'll be going after Cuba. And Marco Rubio said something very, very interesting. He said Cuba is actually not controlled by the government. Cuba is controlled by a military holding company named GAESA. So GAESA owns virtually everything. And not a penny of that money translates over to the public treasury. So GAESA is a real military control conglomerate owned and operated by Cuba's Revolutionary Armed Forces. It was established in the 90s under Raul Castro to manage hard currency businesses after the Soviet Union's collapse. Independent analysis and reporting confirm it dominates key profitable sectors, including tourism, hotel, retail, sports, remittances, imports, telecommunications, gas stations, and more. Estimates of its economic control range from approximately 40 to 70% of Cuba's GDP, with revenues several times larger than the official state budget. Its finances are opaque and exempt from civilian government audits. Unlike regular government entities, profits stay within the military elite network rather than flowing into public treasury or funding services for ordinary Cubans. U.S. officials, Cuban exile analysts, and independent economists. You ever wonder why nobody on the news ever told you what dark chocolate actually does in your body? Yeah, me neither. I had to find out from a fitness guy on the internet. Watch this.
You can see there's no vasodilation going on, no veins, no blood pumping. You're going to take a scoop of my high flavanol cocoa right here. This is the stuff that promotes the nitric oxide in our bodies. Nitric oxide, you guys, is what opens up our blood vessels to allow more blood flow, blood pump. You'll see the vascularity in the veins.
Okay, so he's about to take a scoop of cocoa. Watch what happens to his arms in 30 minutes. Cocoa, just cocoa.
Working out, but 30 30, 45 minutes after I took the high flavanol cocoa, already the vasodilation, the veins are popping up, and yes, you guys, it works down there on the main one.
Are you serious? Look at his arms. Look at the veins from cocoa, you guys. And he says it works down there on the main one too. Yeah, I bet it does. Real quick, I've been doing this myself for the last 3 weeks. He's not lying. Now watch the Harvard part. This is the one nobody wants to talk about.
2 cups of dark chocolate in the form of hot chocolate. That's it. 2 cups to have a day for 30 days. And at the end of 30 days, you take out your blood and measure the stem cells again, and then do that flow-mediated dilation resiliency test again of the blood vessels to see, have they changed? This is what's amazing has been found, that dark chocolate, the proanthocyanidins, not only got into the bloodstream, but they doubled the number of stem cells circulating in your blood vessels, and they doubled the resiliency, improved by twofold the resiliency of your blood vessels just over the course of a month with as little as 2 cups of hot chocolate that's dark.
This is a Harvard doctor talking about what cocoa does in your blood, your stem cells, the works. This is the same crowd that told us seed oils were healthy and red meat would kill us. And they're quietly sitting on this. Bookmark it before they pull it. Black Forest supplements are the ones actually making the cocoa with flavonols still in it because most chocolate destroys them in processing. They're doing a whopping Memorial Day 50% off store-wide promo for the next 48 hours, the whole site. So here's what I do. Get a tub for yourself. Send the second one to your mom. The women who raised us deserve real medicine, not whatever they're putting on the supermarket shelves these days. Cocoa is the one they always run low on, so don't wait until Sunday. Links in the description, codes auto-applied. She kept the pharmacy off you when you were a kid. Return the favor. Go to blackforestsupplements.com/X22 or just click the link in the description. Consistently describe it as a state within a state that hoards hard currency while the broader economy collapses. So they have their own funding system where money is being brought into there and the system is able to operate with this money. It's almost like when you look at Iran. Iran was receiving funds from Obama, receiving funds from the trafficked oil, and receiving funds from many other places through terrorism and trafficking and things like that. Same thing with Venezuela. So Cuba does the same exact thing. And this is what Trump and team are going after. This is why they sanctioned this organization so many times. But again, eventually, they're going to have to block it all off, which eventually it will, because I think a lot of the money, yes, it's within their country, but I think a lot of the money comes from the outside. And when you start to block off everything around them, the money starts to dry up very, very quickly. And I wouldn't even be surprised if a lot of the money comes from the deep state players via America. But let's see how this all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. Now, we know that South America, it's about to transform away from the deep state players. And we're already starting to see it in Colombia. And Trump congratulated the Colombian president candidate. He's saying that he's a smart, strong, and tough leader on his decisive victory in the first round of the Colombian presidential election. He says that he fights tirelessly for and loves his great country and people just like I do for the United States of America. As president, Abelardo would be tremendously successful in leading Colombia to grow the economy, create jobs, promote trade, stop illegal immigration, crack down on crime and drugs, and restore law and order. Abelardo will face off against a radical left Marxist in the runoff on June 21st. The results of the election are very important to the future of Colombia and its relationship to the United States because of his tremendous accomplishments in life and his political support from me. Personally, it is my honor to give Abelardo my complete and total endorsement. So, once again, we could see that Colombia is about to change, just like Argentina changed, just like Venezuela is going to change. Actually, most of the country in Central and South America, they're all going to change. And you could see that the deep state players, they're losing power left and right across the world. And as Trump dismantles Venezuela, dismantles Cuba, dismantles Iran, and eventually Ukraine, they're going to lose all power. They don't have control over Afghanistan anymore. Remember, they were using the poppy fields to pay for covert operations. They don't have that control anymore. It's gone. So when you start to look at all of this, you could see that Trump now is shutting down the system that they have created. Because again, the systems that are out there, they had a terrorist army, they had cartel, they have gang members. These people could do us harm when we go after the major players. And this is why Trump is shutting all of this down. And this is why he's out in Iran. And this is why I do believe Ukraine now is attacking Russia, because they see that time is ticking down right now and Iran is eventually going to fold. So what did Zelensky do? He went ahead and he attacked Russia. OSINT Defender put this out and said, wow, in addition to targeting of the oil terminal and other energy infrastructure in St. Petersburg during this morning's large-scale Ukrainian drone attack against northwestern Russia, it looks like they also hit a ship in this area, setting fire and causing serious damage. So basically, we can see that Zelensky right now is pushing the attacks on Russia forward because, again, they see what's happening out in Iran. The deep state players are telling them, start the war, get Russia to attack, and let's keep this going. And once again, this is not going to work because I do believe for war to start, you need Russia to actually go along with it. Russia is not going to go along with it because Russia has been speaking to Trump. And I do believe they're on the same page. The same thing with China. So this is going to be very, very difficult for them to push. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that we know that Iran, or I should say Biden/Obama, they allowed sleeper cells into this country. And I do believe if Trump ever decided to attack Iran, they would use the sleeper cells. But it seems that the sleeper cells, they were captured and they were actually brought to justice. Paul Sperry put this out and said, a plot of Iran Revolutionary Guard agent who directed terrorist sleeper cells secreted inside U.S. to attack targets in New York, California, Arizona, traces back to Biden's open border policy, according to the FBI complaint. So, yes, were they planning to do something? Did they bring these people in here? Yes. So this is proof that the people that they were bringing in over the border were terrorists. It was done on purpose. And the FBI, once again, shut it all down. Now, the other thing that we could see is that Iran now is going all out trying to push the war. And they've went ahead and they attacked Kuwait. They're attacking Bahrain. They're attacking many different areas using drones. And they're trying to push this into a major war. Now, I do believe that these nations, they're instructed not to put boots on the ground. Yes, could they attack? Of course they can. But I do believe Trump has already let them know that he is in control of the situation and they will defend them as best they possibly can, intercepting the drones and the missiles. Some of the missiles, some of the drones made it through. But again, they're trying, the deep state players, they're trying everything they possibly can to actually create a widespread war, which I don't believe is going to happen whatsoever. Because once again, you can see that Trump is in complete and utter control of the entire situation. And during an interview, Trump actually confirmed that he said he was a little pissed off with Netanyahu. Now, think about what happened. Iran, the deep state players, they used Hezbollah to continually fire missiles into Israel. They know they can provoke Israel. They know they can provoke Netanyahu. They know that Netanyahu was going to respond. They did this on purpose, of course. So Netanyahu responded. They fired at Hezbollah. And then Netanyahu says, you know something, we're going in. We're shutting this all down. And they wanted this to happen. So Trump, he was not angry. He says he was a little bit perturbed at this constantly fighting with Lebanon. And he basically told Bibi, just stop it. You got to stop it. Don't fall for their traps. Don't do what they want you to do. And that means Netanyahu's not in control. That means Trump is in control. Trump is in control of this entire mission. He even said, he didn't trick me into going into Iran. I've said this going back a long time ago. Trump is not just doing this to remove the tariffs. Yes, it's part of the agenda. He's doing this to decentralize oil, to remove the fear. And if they got a nuclear weapon, we would never be able to do this. Because again, what is he thinking of? He's thinking of manufacturing. He's thinking of the economy. He's thinking of the new world that he's creating. And these are all the pieces that they put into place to make sure they controlled everything. Going back to 1971, they controlled the Middle East. They introduced OPEC in the 60s. They used OPEC to control the production, the price, and everything else. All of this is being dismantled. This is what the central bank doesn't want to happen. And Trump even said that, listen, Iran, they can do it the easy way or the hard way. It's either they make a deal, they surrender, or we bomb them and they'll be completely and utterly destroyed. He even said, we don't even need boots on the ground. There's no boots. We know exactly where they are, and we'll just wipe them out, wipe out all their weapons. They will have absolutely nothing left. But from a humanitarian point of view, he'd rather do it a different way. He'd rather them come to the table. He'd rather them surrender and give him everything that he wants. And he's just waiting and waiting because he knows with the sanctions, the Strait of Hormuz closed, where they're not selling the oil, there's no more weaponry coming in from China. Nobody is giving them anything. And basically, they're hurting. Every single day, it gets worse and worse for them. He knows this. He's not just sitting back going, oh, I lost. I can't make a deal. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows in a split second, all he has to do is say, hey, I'm going to use the War Powers Act. We're striking at Iran. There's no, after the other mission was completed, there's no wait time. There's nothing. He can call it a different name and say, okay, this is Operation Screw You, and go into Iran and obliterate them. They've been tracking all of these people. They've never stopped tracking these people. They've been tracking all the weapons. He's using Space Force, but he's just waiting for them and waiting. Now, I do believe there is the people, they're receiving weapons, and he's also waiting for that. There's a lot of pressure on this regime right now that has no power whatsoever. And just because they fire off a couple missiles, a couple drones, doesn't mean they have power. Think about the weaponry here in the United States. Missiles would rain down on Iran and they wouldn't even know it. They have nothing to stop it. Trump knows this. He's just waiting. And he actually said something else that was very, very interesting. He said, and this is about the Ayatollah, we seem to be getting along quite well with the Ayatollah. I would like to meet him. I would probably meet him at some point. So that's very interesting. Trump went from fire and fury to let's have lunch. So that's very, very interesting. So is this the Venezuela model? Maybe. And I do believe in the end, Iran is going to end up being our ally because once again, Trump is going to remove all the deep state players from this country. But let's see how this all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. Now, the other thing that we could see is they're still going after Pete Hegseth because, again, smart guy, capable guy, the military's behind him. And you have to remember the deep state players, what have they been doing this entire time? They've been trying to destroy the military. They are bringing in wokeism. They're bringing in DEI. This is what they've been trying to do because, again, if it's infiltration from within, eventually they were going to attack the country and these morons would never be able to defend it. Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, came into this position and the military has been made strong once again. Plus, Trump rebuilt the actual military going back to his first term. So what's very interesting, the New York Times is making a very big deal that Pete Hegseth blocked the promotions of at least 7 Navy officers in a move that targeted women and minority officers. Rob Maness said, hey, New York Times, Secretary of War is operating purely merit-based department. Anyone caring about what color or sex promotees are is professionally inept and pushing a harmful ideology. DEI supporting officers should all be removed from every promotion list, every command screening list, and forced to retire after a grade determination. By the way, sourcing this with only anonymous sources tells us the whole thing is skewed in a negative way anyhow. Now, once again, why are they saying this? Because, again, Pete Hegseth is basing everything on merit, not on skin color, not on the sex that you are. not anything that is actually discriminatory, actually, if you really think about it. That's what DEI is. Cynical Publius says, please realize that every bit of reporting you see coming from major legacy media sources about anything Pete Hegseth, the Pentagon or Department of War is doing is butthurt propaganda. I'll explain. You see, for years and years, the major legacy media outlets such as the New York Times, Washington Post, Reuters, etc., have had privileged, largely unfettered access to the Pentagon, access other news outlets never enjoyed. This worked great in Democrat administrations because the media was totally on board with the DEI destruction of our nation's military, and the Democrats knew the media would never abuse its access to undermine them. However, when a Republican is in office, the access was wielded against the administration via unauthorized leaks of classified and other controlled information, not to report the news, but to destroy policies those media members disagreed with, and Pete Hegseth put a stop to that leftist gravy train. No more uncontrolled access, no more ability to get meaningful, unauthorized info from sources familiar with the issue. Zip, nada, nothing. He didn't stop the legacy media from writing what they want. They always have had that right. No, he simply stopped the ability for certain members of the legacy media to undermine national security via privileged access that was denied the rest of the media. And oh boy, are they butthurt over that. So butthurt that they have lost whatever residual ability they may have once had to report honestly. And now everything they write is a character assassination piece sourced by anonymous sources. Put simply, they are lying liars. Lying liars because they got their feelings hurt. Couple this with the fact that the Gen Z journalists doing the reporting tend to have as deep an understanding of warfare as does my cat. And I just explained why anytime you read Pentagon reporting from a legacy news outlet, you should assume the opposite of what you are reading is the truth. And that's absolutely true. They have no ability to receive information, so what do? They lie. And they know that a lie will travel around the world before the truth puts its shoes on. And they use this to their advantage every step of the way. But again, the people are starting to realize this. So anytime you see an anonymous source, you should actually question it and say, you know something, I don't believe this. I want to see the facts. I want to see the truth of the matter. I'm not just going to believe this just came from someplace, somewhere, and it's all anonymous. So if they don't deliver facts, they don't deliver documentation, they don't deliver the proper information, you shouldn't believe it right off the bat. Be very skeptical at what they're doing here. Now, what's very interesting, we could see that the deep state players, for a very long time, they've been trying to infiltrate this country and destroy the country. It started all the way back in 1913. That was the whole purpose of bringing the third central bank into this country. Over time, it creates corruption, and they're able to put the people that they want into position. And it takes a very, very long time because, again, you have to go back a little bit in time. Back in 1913, do you think the people would just accept wokeism? Do you think the people would just accept income taxes? Do you think the people would accept all the things that we accepted today? No. So over time, what happens is they slowly make you believe that this is normal over time. Plus, they teach the children at a young age over and over and over and over. And this is what they've done. And then they introduce their Manchurian candidate that they want to basically remake America, infiltrate America, destroy America. Let's go back a little bit in time. Real Robert put this out. He says, here is Barack Obama in the early 1990s leads a protest at Marx's Harvard University in support of then Professor Derek Bell. Bell was a founder of DEI and critical race theory. He spent his career teaching that whites are oppressors and blacks are victims. He went on a strike at Harvard, demanding the school hire more black professors. Sounds familiar? Over a dozen Harvard professors went to work for the Obama administration after he won the election in 2008. And that's how Marxist DEI woke have effectively hijacked and infiltrated the U.S. government. And again, over time, what happened? They were able to use the rig system to bring in the infiltrators into government positions to change everything. Not just the elected people, but they also brought in the staffers, those people that worked in the agencies. Again, you really can't bring those people in unless you have the elected people in place. Once you have the elected people in place and you install them, you can start bringing in those people that you want to run the agencies. And again, they don't have to be elected, so you can bring them in very, very easily to control everything in the executive branch. This is how they maintain control of the executive branch, no matter who was in office. You have to remember, they controlled the FBI. They controlled the DOJ. They controlled DNI. They controlled DHS. They controlled NCIA. They controlled all of this, plus all the other agencies in the executive branch. So it didn't matter who was president, because the final decision wasn't actually the president. It was these different agencies. And this is how they maintained control. This is how they fought back. Trump figured it out. Trump realized how they controlled their system. They put all these people into place to control their system and to protect it. So what did he do? He removed those people in the FBI, the DOJ, DNI, and the rest, and replaced them with his people, not the people that were given to him, by his people. And these are the people that we see today. And he started to shut down the agencies, the most critical agencies that were pushing the agendas. Yes, there's many other agencies that are still pushing their agenda, but he got rid of the most critical. This is why there were so many different lawsuits, because the deep state players realized what he was doing. So with all that gone, a lot of it gone, and he's still removing a lot of people in the bloated government, those agencies that are still working for the deep state players, he's still removing these people. Once that was all gone, he could start then what? Exposing the fraud, exposing their crimes, exposing what they've been doing, exposing the system. And think about it. Nick Shirley has been doing a great job exposing a lot of this. And basically, he's showing the fraud in California. He put this out and said, this is a prime example of fraud and waste inside California's homeless industrial complex. California bought this hotel for $8 million in 2020 and now wants $20 million to fix it. This is $625,000 per homeless person. 6 years later, and nothing to show, because it had nothing to do with the homeless. This is their money laundering system. Now, again, when you start to see all of this, and you see the investigation via the FBI, the DOJ, and you start to see all these people that are involved in this, and you see Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent backtracking where the money's coming from, people can understand this very, very easily. And the deep state players, they're going to try to stop this at every turn. Remember, the deep state players, they need their illegals. They need their foot soldiers in this country to maintain their system, to make sure that people go nowhere near it. And this is why you see Antifa out there protecting the illegals, going after ICE, because they need these people in their system. And think about it. The mayor in Newark decided to lift the curfew, which means the anti-ICE protesters are going back to Delaney Hall because he's lifted the curfew. Now, we know this was done on purpose. And once again, you're going to see ICE go after these people and put them down. And this is what the deep state players want, because you have to remember what they're trying to do. They're trying to create a color revolution. They're looking for a martyr. That's what they're looking for right now, to push their agenda. And they're hoping to get one. Let's see how this all plays out. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that the state of Washington, they have signed a proclamation officially recognizing the federal government's designation of Antifa as a terrorist organization. And pro-Antifa protesters caused a ruckus in Washington as city officials recognize that they are domestic terrorists. So once again, we could see there are different states now that are saying, yeah, they are terrorists. And we could see that Antifa is not very, very happy. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, if they're terrorists, why don't we just arrest them all? Because again, why go search for them and use all that resources? Wait until the deep state players push the riots. It makes it that much easier. Plus, you could use the military. It's a lot easier. Use the National Guard, the Marines to assist in all this. And once Antifa, the illegals, are all in the different areas, they're all out where you can see them. It's much easier to go in with the troops and round them all up. And I do believe this is what Trump is setting up right now. And think about it. This is why he's improving DC. Because again, when you have everything, destroyed, broken, nobody cares about it. Everyone believes there's no law and order. When you have everything looking beautiful, the criminals are rounded up. People can go out to the parks. People can feel safe on the trains. People don't want that destroyed. It's almost like in your house. You spend all this time fixing it up. You spend all this time painting it. You spend all this time doing this. You don't want anyone coming in, destroying it. But if it's a broken down house, broken windows, broken floors, most people don't care about it. And Trump now is taking the next step because he has announced, and this is coming from the White House, that the administration's successful war on crime, the Department of Justice Model Cities Initiative, designed to slash violent crime and restore law and order in major cities across America. Acting Attorney General Tom Blanche says, "Today we're excited to announce the Model Cities Initiative, which is the next step in the administration's mission to restore law and order, back the blue, and make America safe again. Thanks to the One Big Beautiful Bill, we are surging $300 million in grant funds to support 2 to 4 cities with a population of 100,000 or more who are serious in reducing violent crime, restoring law and order, and modernizing their public safety infrastructure. Under POTUS leadership, this Department of Justice and this initiative is focused on results and looking for true whole government partnerships." So this is going to be very, very interesting. Now, I do believe that we have a lot of Republican governors where we might have blue cities where crime is running rampant. And I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see 2 to 4 of these cities actually receive the grants. Now, maybe some of the blue states, blue cities that are hurting for money, maybe they'll agree to this because remember, it's 2 to 4 cities. And Trump is going to show the entire world, look, we got rid of the crime. It was that easy. And now the cities are safe. The city's being cleaned up. Now, again, why is he doing this? He knows the deep state players are going to be pushing riots. He knows the deep state players are going ready to go crazy because, again, they're losing everything. So if you remove the crime, you make the city safe, you make it look good, and Antifa steps into your city, do you want your city going back to the way it was? No, you do not. So Trump now has just made another move against the deep state players. And the other thing that's really interesting is that going back in time where the U.S. government was weaponized against the people, Trump, as we know, sued the IRS for $1.776 billion. And this is the weaponization fund. And we know a judge blocked this. Now, the DOJ came out and said, yes, we're going to abide by the judge's ruling. Now, Trump always abides by the rule of law. Now, a lot of people are probably saying, well, if these people are corrupt, why is he abiding by the judges? Because, again, you have to show the people, no matter if they're corrupt, you abide by the rule of law. Compared to like Virginia, where the judge put an injunction on their banning of weapons, the governor there and the Congress there said, okay, we're not going to abide by the injunction. We're going to create a different law and go around you. You see, they're the dictators. Trump will always follow the rule of law. He'll have his agencies follow the rule of law because he doesn't want people to think that he is going to go around the rule of law, even if the judge is corrupt, because there's always a way to get around it using the rule of law. So, and the Constitution, of course. So Trump, he put out something on Truth, which is basically explaining what the weaponization fund is. And it seems like they might have taken a different approach. I know the news is out there letting it, saying that, hey, he's dropping it. He doesn't care about the weaponization fund. They're not going. I think they're just taking a very different approach. So he's connected this to Patriot Freedom Project, and it's a Substack article. And this is the most important part. Remember, the weaponization fund, it is not unprecedented. The U.S. has paid victims of government abuse before, including Japanese Americans interned in World War II, victims under nuclear testing, Ruby Ridge family, wrongly accused individuals in FBI anthrax and other cases, black farmers alleging USDA discrimination. So the main arguments against critics. Media frames the fund as Trump stealing $1.776 billion. The article says this is a complete and utter lie. Preemptive lawsuits are trying to kill the fund before it helps anyone. Special focus on January 6 families, many lost homes, businesses, marriages, child stability due to what the article describes as disproportionate prosecutions and family separation. VP J.D. Vance, quote, "This is about compensating Americans for the lawfare that we saw under the last administration." Chad Mizzelli, quote, "There's nothing unprecedented about the weaponization fund. The only thing unprecedented is that conservatives are in the front of the line. Justice must be blind to politics. If someone can prove government abuse destroyed their life, they deserve a fair hearing and a potential compensation, regardless of party. It urges support for due process, highlights the work of Weaponization Watch, Hughes Foundation, and argues that blocking the fund sets a dangerous precedent that could deny future victims any remedy. In short, Trump gave up personal damages to create a lawful, audible fund for victims of the very weaponization he fought. The games are the political attacks trying to stop it before it starts." And what's very interesting is that Enrique Tarrio said something that's very interesting. Convicted of seditious conspiracy for his role in January 6th, he texts this, and this is Liz Landers putting this out. "This isn't an abandonment. They simply state they're going to wait 2 weeks. I believe even if this fund is killed in courts or at a congressional level, the president will find a way. They can just settle the tort claims and lawsuits that has no judicial review or congressional oversight and would mean a lot more money in compensation." So I do believe they're probably going at this in a completely and utterly different way, realizing that they would get pushback if they followed the path that they were on. But let's see how this all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that we know that Trump, he put Bill Pulte in the position of the acting DNI. And you can see the Ds, they're freaking out over this. Now, what's very interesting about an acting DNI, you cannot block the appointment. Brian Cates says they can't block the appointment. He's acting DNI. Just like they couldn't block Todd Blanche as AG, because Blanche is acting AG. Pulte is going to get 210 days. Now, all of these people are going to get 210 days. Now, people say, well, what do you mean they can't block it? Well, acting officials are governed by the Federal Vacancy Reform Act of 1998. The FVRA, 5 USC section 3345 and 3349E, is the main law that lets the president temporarily fill vacancies in Senate-confirmed positions like AG, DNI. The president can designate an acting official in one of 3 ways. No Senate vote required. The first assistant, example, deputy AG or the AG position, or principal deputy DNI for the DNI position. Another person already confirmed by the Senate for a different position. A senior career official in the same agency. So basically, Congress can't do anything. They can't block it. They can complain. They can do that. Now, what else can they do? They can say, hey, listen, we're not going to allow you to have these funds. We're not going to allow you to pass visa. We're going to blackmail you until you remove that person. They could do that, which they are doing. So basically, they've already come out and said, the Democrats said, and Mark Warner is the one who came out and said this, they will stop the FISA 702 reauthorization. They will stop this until Pulte is removed. Now, why are they so afraid of Pulte? Now, of course, they're saying he doesn't have experience. He doesn't have any of this. But think about this. I do believe Trump put Pulte in this position. He's a placeholder right now. He has 210 days. Those people behind the scenes now have the ability to do what they need to do, while Bill Pulte takes all the heat. And he has access to many other things. Remember, he's investigating certain people. So basically, when you start to look at this, Bill Pulte can take all the heat, and the acting director of national intelligence, Aaron Lucas, He doesn't have to be bogged down in the quicksand of bureaucracy. Pulte can attend the meetings, summits, foreign ministerial gatherings, go to the briefings, and keep Aaron Lucas completely unencumbered to continue the work that was begun by Gabbard. Plus, eventually, I do believe when we win the House and the Senate, Trump will then bring in his person. Now, a lot of people are saying, hey, maybe Devin Nunes would be great. I think he would be great. Now, if they brought Devin Nunes in right now, what are the chances of Devin Nunes actually getting confirmed with the Senate the way it is today? Now, if they're pissed off about Pulte, do you think they'd be all for Nunes? Really think about this for a second. Now, if Nunes was going to go from the president's Intelligence Advisory Board and move into a D&I position, when would be the right time and the right place to do this? I do believe when you have the House and Senate. And I think when we look at this, is Trump going to start to name people right now at this moment? Well, the only time he would do this is to give the acting people additional time, because once you nominate someone, they will get additional time. Now, he might actually nominate A.G. Blanche to take this position. But I do believe he might wait for the last moment to do this. There's no rush right now. There's no reason to do it, especially with the Senate today the way you have it. Think about all the nominations that are backlogged. Why would you do it at this point in time? It doesn't make any sense. So can they use Pulte to basically go to all the meetings and do everything that Gabbard was doing while the real work is being done in the background? Absolutely. And I do believe these placeholders are put into place so Trump then can nominate and have his people confirmed very, very quickly when we win the House and Senate, which I do believe we're going to win. Now, the other thing that we could see is that there were certain elections that were going on yesterday, and especially out in LA, and we could see there are certain red flags. MJ Truth Ultra put this out and said 39.3% vote. Karen Bass had 117,000. Spencer Pratt had 86,000 and change, of course. Then we had 42.4% of the vote. So more votes came in. So Karen Bass went from 117,000 to 130,000 and change. Spencer Pratt stayed exactly where he was, which means all the votes went to Karen Bass. Statistically impossible, which means what are they doing? They're cheating. Now, when you look at the California governor race, we see Hilton is at 27%, probably a little bit more now, and Becerra is at 25%. Steyer is very low at 19%. So it looks like, and this is an estimated 62% reporting already. So it looks like Hilton is on his way. And think about it. California, they need to count, and Election Wizard put this out, count all the Republican votes first. And this is what they did during the presidential election and every other election, so they can figure out exactly how many Democrat votes they need to find. And Rosie Memo says that California, they have given themselves 37 days. These ballot numbers will fluctuate daily at will and without warning. So basically, they're making up the difference. Remember, election day is election day, but out in California, they cheat like there's no tomorrow. And they're making it seem like they can't count all the votes, which is absolutely ridiculous. Geiger Capital put this out and said, Columbia just held their election. They require voter ID and use paper ballots. They hand count the votes of each station one by one. No machines or mail-in ballots due to security concerns. 24 million votes. It was all done in a couple of hours. And think about it. Oh, we can't close the border. Oh, we can't stop crime. Oh, we can't cut the... It's all a lie. Yes, they can. They just don't want to do it because that would interfere with their cheating system. DC Drano says, California has some of the most corrupt elections in the world. No voter ID, sanctuary cities filled with millions of illegal aliens, printed home ballots, ballot mules going door to door, weeks to count. Even lefties are starting to acknowledge how terrible they are. Absolutely. And we know that they cheat in the elections. This is why every single person has to come out and actually vote for the candidate to override their cheating system. Now, remember, this is not the midterm election. This is a state election. They're still controlling their elections with their cheating system. Trump now is going to mitigate the cheating system in the federal elections that are coming up. So it's going to be very, very different. And Trump let everyone know that, yeah, we need to find out and we need to go after those people that have been cheating in the election. The Storm River I put this out and said, while speaking about how rigged our elections are, President Trump was asked by Miranda Devine, someone has to be punished for that, stealing elections. So how do you do that, President? President Trump says, well, I don't want to get into it. I'd rather not get into it. But let's see what happens. The elections was rigged. We know who rigged the election. We know everything now. You know, we have the information that nobody thought was possible. Please hold these people accountable. So what is he doing? He has the information. He has everything. But these people must be investigated. And it must be done in front of the country so people understand how it was done. Now think about it. The investigators know exactly what to ask for. The investigators know what to look for because they already have that information. But again, you have to follow the process of the rule of law, and you must show the people. This is what is being done right now in Fulton County and in Maricopa County in Arizona. And once that is brought out into the open, you're going to see that, wait a minute, if it was rigged in these two places, it must have been rigged in other places because, again, we're seeing the same exact pattern. And this has to be done right. And it has to be done in front of the people so the people see the documented evidence. If Trump just came out and said, listen, I caught them, here it is, no one would believe it. So let it all play out, and you can see it's all being done. And think about it. Trump has endorsed 8 candidates, and they won their primary so far. Now, is every single one going to be a win? No, but I do believe he's going to get the majority. And that's what we're seeing right now. Remember, we're still dealing with the deep state players. We're still dealing with their cheating system in the states. We're still dealing with all of this. So as long as Trump gets the majority, we're good to go. And it looks like they have now decided on a date for the White House correspondent dinner. Trump put this out and said, in a sign of strength and fortitude, it was just announced that the White House correspondent dinner, which violently ended rather abruptly on April 25th, will be rescheduled to July 24th. This announcement is a very good thing in that we cannot allow lunatics to change our way of life or even its scheduling. I was asked to be there and speak by Weijia Jiang, president of the White House Correspondent Association, and have accepted. I don't know whether or not I will give the same rather nasty statement, or at least as it concerns certain people, but we will soon find out. In any event, it will be a hot ticket. Interestingly, the location will be the Waldorf Astoria on Pennsylvania Avenue, a building and ballroom that I built. President TJT. Hey, that's very, very interesting. Beautiful hotel, by the way. And think about this. The deep state players, they keep asking about Trump's health. Why does he go to the doctor? Because, again, think about what happened with Biden. They knew that he couldn't function. They knew other people were running the show, and they're trying to project that onto Trump. The real question should be, why didn't we ever get a doctor report from Biden? Why didn't he ever take a cognitive test? Why was that all kept from the American people? Instead, they're saying, wait, Trump keeps going to the doctor, and he keeps getting a report that he's really healthy. He keeps taking a cognitive test, and it shows that, wow, his scores are off the chart. Now think about why Trump is doing that. Because Biden didn't do any of these things. And he's showing the people over and over and over, no matter what, look, I'm healthy. Look, I'm cognitive. Look, I'm healthy. Look, I'm cognitive. And they're trying to make it into a thing that, hey, maybe there's something wrong with him. But if he's going there and his numbers and everything look good, how's there something wrong with him? He's doing it on purpose. I think he's trolling them, actually. Trump War Room put this out and said, fake news clown thought he had a gotcha moment until Dr. Oz shut it down. Question, if the president is in such perfect health, why does he keep going back in for checkups? Dr. Oz, I think he likes the results. He does really well. He aces the test every single day. He's a very meticulous person in so many ways that are often underappreciated. Boom. And these people are truly stupid. When you start to hear the questions they ask, all they do is grandstand. They really don't ask questions. They actually put out statements that are completely off, fake, phony, and false because they don't want the actual person to answer the question. If you notice, Trump's team of talented people, they're able to combat these people very, very easily by hitting back at them and using facts every single time. And think about what Trump is doing right now. He's showing the world he's in control of almost everything. And just because it's not happening quickly, like the next day, doesn't mean he's not in control. Some things take a little bit of time. Some things you need to basically wait until it all happens. If you notice, Trump waited since 2016. Look where he is today. And again, Trump is just making things better and better, shutting down the deep state players, making them squirm, making them feel the pain, because that's what you're witnessing today. They're feeling pain in every single area. They're losing the elections. Trump is putting in the people that he needs. Soon the D's will most likely be out. The fake news, everyone knows they're the fake news. Their entire news organizations are being restructured. They're coming up with fake stories because they're no longer getting actual information. They lost Venezuela. They lost Afghanistan. They're going to lose Cuba. They're going to lose Iran. They're going to lose Ukraine. They're losing everything. They don't have power anymore. Trump has taken it all away from them. He's taken away their protection agencies. Those protection agencies are actually investigating them now. He's removed the agencies that were funneling money. Their money laundering system is being exposed. Now it's being traced back to who actually is doing it. They're shutting down the illegals' accounts. Who's in control? Trump is in control every step of the way. Why? Because the patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.